In the past, the world revolved around men as protectors, providers, and those who fed and took care of their families. But presently, the women are easily taking up on those roles. So what is the role of a man in the society and in the world we are in today? With me is an amazing guest who will shed the light on the same. Karibu sana. Briefly introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me, Linda. It's a great privilege and an honor. Reverend Eliud Wanene. I serve at a church called JC in a place called Ndagani, in Chuka, Kenya. Okay. And I work as a counselor, but also a pastor. Both worlds I'm trained, and I thank God for that. And it's a great opportunity to be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you too for being here. So let's get to it. Yeah. Things have changed. Yes. The world is evolving. Yeah. And whatever worked for maybe our grandparent and our great-great-grandparent is not what will necessarily work for us. Like kitambo, you know, the man would go anatafuta and the woman would be left behind to take care of the babies and do some house chores. But saizi ni ngumu. It's hard. Let's start there.
So I would think let's look at it from a biblical point of view. We come to culture and then we finally land where we are today in the globalization. So in Genesis, God created man first and then made him a leader. Yeah. And we see that because when God comes and is searching for the man, he doesn't see them because they have fallen. He doesn't ask Eve what she has done, and yet God knew. Yeah. She's the one who maybe had messed up. So man was created to lead, the masculine gender. So that has not changed even with the culture.
You know, things have changed. Si kama kitambo. People are educated now. Yeah. And sometimes also situations pia zinafanya mtu inabidi adjust. Yeah. So tell us about that.
I want to go back because we cannot discuss this from a point of marriage without going back to the place where men and women meet. Yeah. Kwa sababu before marriage people meet. And the challenge we are having is that we are trying to sort out an issue within a marriage which we never dealt with when we were dating. And so we are like walking blind, and yet we had an opportunity to kind of create a light somewhere. Yeah. So I would say this, the problems of responsibilities, failure, has started with the dating. Because number one, people are pretending more in our current generation than before. So there was a bit more of realness. Lakini saizi watu wanafichiana. So wakishafichiana sasa wakiingia kwa marriage ndio demands zinaanza kukua, lakini yule mtu hawezi fikisha hiyo kiwango ambayo hiyo demand imewekwa. Let me talk about just one issue and then we can proceed. Okay. What makes a woman to have a man? Because that will matter. Because this question is being asked by women. Why are our men failing us? But then the question is, ni nini ambacho mtu anaangalia wakati anaingia kwa ndoa? From a man now, what do they expect? Are these expectations clear? Are these expectations even real? Are they even doable? Because now when you enter with those expectations, then you find that now in the marriage things change. Yeah. So I would really, even though we're going to speak to women who are already in marriage, but let's talk to people who are dating to make these things clear. Because there's one kind of a relationship I like talking about, is called messianic, whereby a lady meets with a man and she's in trouble in many areas. So anaona huyu jamaa anaweza kuwa solution yangu. So anasortiwa a problem ambayo ako nayo. So marriage inakuwa is a sorting, is a kind of a problem solving issue, is a transactional relationship, but it is not sustainable, unfortunately. And I'll tell you why. Women have become more empowered. Opportunities are decreasing for men. On average today, if you attend an interview both with a gent and a lady, the highest probability is that the lady will go through, because attitudes of society need, women are more reliable, they are more diligent, and they are more predictable. Men will demand more in terms of pay, and they also do many side hustles to keep things going. So employers are not looking for them. So vitu zimekuwa ngumu. So I think we can go to the next level now. We ask, we're in a marriage, what next?
Okay, on the same.
Yes.
Will I be wrong if I say some of these things, like hapo kwa pretend, because there are people who pretend a lot. Like the face they show me is not the face I'll meet and deal with when I get into marriage. So could it be that we do not give each other enough time to go through enough seasons to know how one react? Like we are dating, and then you get to a place, you've lost someone very close to you. How do you react when you're in pain? How do you react when you're grieving? If you lost your job today, how will you react? So could that also be an issue? We are not giving each other enough time to go through enough seasons to know each other.
A true thing, because this is the thing, Linda, talking from a point of a minister who serves with young people, because he talked to me a lot. When they meet, the speed at which they shift from one status to another is so high that things get messy and confusing at the end of the day. Let's take an example of someone who wants to get married. On average, the way I have studied right now, most courtships are taking less than a year. Because people are so tired of being heartbroken, they are comfortable just getting to see the good side and move on and get done with this thing. But this is the issue. The moment I commit today, it is not now this 1 year that matters. It is the rest of my life. Because this guy at one point, he needs to be a father. This guy needs to be a leader in the society, needs to be a servant in the church, needs to be an employee somewhere. So how is he with me for the rest of my life? And unfortunately, when you do research, they say that I'm not sure about the statistics today, but sometimes back they were saying over 3/4 of married couples, if they had a chance, they would not choose the same partner they have today. But this is the thing, no one is perfect.
True.
So another thing that rises, and I think it's good to bring it here, notwithstanding the short time of courtship, the pretense, but there is also the aspect of people expecting too much. That very high expectations that tukiingia kwa marriage, mimi nitakuwa navuliwa viatu, na masajiwa, nafunguliwa mlango, alafu naletewa food ile yote nataka. Okay, there are some people who are able to do that, but it's rare because of the current, probably a percentile, 1% anaweza fanya hizo vitu zote kulingana na uwezo, but the reality is hatutaweza. So what do I propose before even we talk about what we need to do? Watu wafanye pre-marital counseling. Is very important. Kuna kitu mimi unihuzunisha, Linda, as a servant of God. Kwa budget ya harusi watu wanaweka nini? DJ, 30k, music, 50k, deco, 80k, food, 150. Yani unasikia tu ziko covered. Ask them if they have attended a single premarital counseling. Your 1,000 is too much
For them
yeah. is too much, but they're paying. Because within a short period of time, the child is here. A short period of time, wapili amefika. So unapata marriages at the 5th, 6th year zinaanza ku weekend. By 10th year unapata marriages nyingi zimevunjika. So to avoid this, let people invest in premarital counseling. It is difficult because sometimes unaenda mnasikia kama mtakosana, but that is the good thing, because at the end of the day tunaingia na mtu ambaye tunaelewana. So closing about before marriage, I would say that hata kama mambo imekuwa too fast, I would propose people take more time in courtship. Kuna jina umetumia seasons, na ni vizuri tutumie. There are 4 seasons in those countries that have specific seasons. Kuna summer, which they love most. Kuna spring. No, I think inafuata na autumn. I'm not sure about that. Alafu inafuata na spring, alafu inaenda winter. So zinaenda ziki grow into each other, and then the cycle goes again. So unapata courtship nyingi watu wanawana bado wakiwa kwa summer. You know, mahali kwa kuenjoy outings, malavidavi, tunaonana twice per month, so I have got the money, nimekopa as a man, nimeambia marafiki zangu nimefuliza, and all that. Banks zimekuwa accessible. Lakini sasa Linda, tukiingia kwa ndoa, is that sustainable?
No.
It is not, because I'm supposed to provide every day. So ile ilikuwa ya 4 times per month or twice per month, sasa imekuwa every day. Huyu mtu mnalala na yeye, mnaamka na yeye, mnashinda na yeye. So kama kuna vitu alikuwa na features zimeanza kuchipuka. So that's what is now destroying even now before we get to the marriage itself.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. This is a very educative conversation going on right here on Deep for Deep Show, Golden Act TV. Do not change the channel.
The Golden Act TV, subscribe. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back. Pastor Eliud, when we talk of men being providers, the mentality they have is that they need to provide financially. But it's not just financially, there is more to that. Can you please clarify that?
There are several P's that we teach in church, and the provider P becomes the major one. And sorry to say this, but the scripture that is used to justify that, it's used to oppress men. It's in the book of Timothy. And it's spoken to men, especially by women, in a point of anger, that a man who doesn't provide is worse than an infidel. The word used is so wrong because it sounds like a terrorist, a barbarian. Yani it's a word loaded. In other versions, it sound like worse than a non-believer. But the context of that scripture, if you read carefully, it is being spoken to about the old women who are in church. And Paul was saying that before the church comes in to provide for the widows who have lost their husbands, and there is a quotation there that there's a disclaimer that they should get married if they are still young. So that is allowed. But if they don't get married and they get to over 60, then they qualify for the support of the church. But one more disclaimer, Paul says, but before they are supported by the church,
their family members should support them.
Yeah.
So ideally, it was not about kids, it was not about women, but women have carried this, and even servants of God, because it sounds so logical. And it is used to bash men, and that's why men are running from church. Men don't attend conferences, because the moment they arrive, they are bashed so badly using especially that scripture. Now, let's talk about the provision part. The idea of God creating man, it was to offer leadership. Leadership, though provision is part of the leadership, is the holistic kind of giving direction to a family. A man that thinks of what God wants and implements it to his family. Because church, to me, a difficult word, is a microcosm of the church, the family. Ile kitu inafaa kuwa kwa familia ndio inafaa kwenda church. Lakini sasa siku hizi unapata ya kwamba sasa what is in the family is so wrong that people have run to church to look for validation. But it may take long to come. So the idea of provision was for a man to show direction and to show leadership. And that is why it is possible to have a woman who is earning 3 times the man's salary, but the man is still a leader. Because a woman is wise enough to know that even though she earns more, the earning is not what makes the person the leader. It is the responsibility that God placed in him. And I love the topic of today. I think we should have done the difference. Roles and responsibility. Because the role is what actually is expected from the people. But the responsibility is what the person carries from within himself and implements it as I would say an obedience to what God wants. I would say that. So unapata sasa hii kupushiwa imekuwa too much. So this is how I approach it as a modern day leader in the church and in the society. That the most important role for a man, if I was asked even before we talk about provision, is priesthood. Priesthood. What does it mean to be a priest? It is to link your family with God. Because when you do that and you thrive in the role of a priest, even the other provisions are very easy. Because you're providing spiritual leadership. So unapatiana mwelekeo wa kiroho. And women will value that because they know that this guy can be trusted. He's a priest. He has morals. He has integrity. He values the kids. As a priest, I ensure that the first voice my kids hear is mine in the morning. I wake them up myself. And the last voice they hear before they sleep is mine. Praying for them. Because my first role in this family is not to bring the bread. Is to offer that leadership so that even my wife becomes the president of Kenya today, we would still be together. And I will be there supporting as a first gentleman. But she'll still respect me at home because of that role. Then when we finish with the priesthood, we come to the presence. Because that idea that you've talked about, wanasema ukue provider, imepush men to work, which is a good thing. And I want to quote T.D. Jakes. He says in a certain clip that the dilemma of modern day man is how can I be present and still be a provider? Because if I choose one, the other loses. So we have to really be careful how much you commit, because the presence, they say that at the end, after 20 years, Linda won't remember what dad bought for her, but she'll be remembering the time they spent together.
True.
That's the reality of parenting. So mi nasema priesthood ikuwe number 1. Number 2, presence. Ya baba ikuwe very key. Like if I want to have time with my kids, no matter labda kuwe na ile emergencies zile unaweza sikia ni ugonjwa or kifo, but nobody can take me away from them. As long as, like, for me, I have made it Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I spend those days with my kids. And I don't put things there. And if they come, I have to talk to them in advance. Mwambie sasa leo kumekuwa na hii na hii, I have to attend. We have meetings, and if it's possible, we go with them. If on Sunday we have a mission, instead of leaving them behind, they miss me, I will carry them. And we go with them to a high school. And they will be doing two things. I'm putting the seed of God in them, but I'm also having time with them. And they will remember this. So number 2. Now we come to provision now. That is where now it comes. I think I put it at number 3. Now you look for a way for your family to be comfortable. But this provision, as you see, is not just material, but it's much, much more than that. Is, do you provide leadership? Do you provide spiritually? Do you provide encouragement? Do you provide, as in even before you bring the bread, this child has already honored you. And I think when you do that, there is hope for the family.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. Now let's come here. Modern world. There's a conflict between trying to do it in a traditional way and trying to do it in the modern way. So, kwafanya nini?
Thank you. I think now you have brought what I have started advocating for as a counselor and as a pastor in our modern day. We have to redefine family. Complete redefining. Kwa sababu tusipofanya hivyo, we shall keep on hanging to traditions and colliding with the modern day life. Let's take an example. I'm going to use this because it's something that is coming up so much. The woman manages to go through campus. People meet, basically in our generation, they meet in campuses or in educational settings per se, or in church. So they get married, the woman succeeds, she gets a very good job. The guy is struggling, as we started by saying, men are disadvantaged in the marketplace. So huyu mama amepata job. So what do you use in that instance? Culture becomes irrelevant. Because the modern demands are just seeking for one thing. We have to have money. The house has to be paid. We are in an urban setting. There's a shift in the what we call dynamics of population, demographics. It's more into the urban setting. So we need fees for kids. We need this. We need that. So what I can tell you, culture is very important because it gives guidelines. And I am not one of the pastors who advocate for demonizing African culture. I take a middle ground. This is how I look at it. If culture makes things better for the family, it's okay. That's why I'm not against dowry payment. I'm not against African naming or these small things, the festivals that we do to bring families together. But what I'm not for is any culture that degrades or reduces the value of a human being, especially the woman. So any culture that makes the woman look like useless or not enough, good enough, that one I am totally against. So this is what I would say about culture. As a family, let it start from the family level. Wachana na vile kunasema huko nje. You, Linda, and you guys sit down before even marriage, as we are talking, and agree. How do you view culture, and how do you view women? How do you view their position as workers? How do you view their how do you view? You know, you're the woman now asking a guy. Unafikiriaje kuhusu economic empowerment of women? My career, where do you place it? You agree now as a family. But culture, ikikuja kuinterfere na family, inaletanga a lot of challenges. For example, if you look at the idea of that the man should provide, and that is the culture, the expectation. Na huyu jamaa amekosa job. Anajaribu kabisa, by the way, is a Christian. And men, by the way, die when they are not providing. I think it's good for women to know that.
Is it an ego thing?
It is an ego thing, but no, it's more than that. Ni kwa sababu imagine kutoka utotoni, the gospel you have heard is that man is a provider. So when I think it's a good opportunity to tell women, when a man is not providing, especially a Christian man who has, you know, a sound mind, hayuko kwa drugs, hayuko kwa yani ni failure tu za maisha zimemsukuma, that man can commit suicide even from nowhere. because they feel like they are failing. The men are built to carry weights and to carry burdens. So when they're not doing it, they feel bad. So imagine now you're feeling that burden, then the woman now presses you even more. Anakutandika emotionally, anakutandika psychologically, mpaka you feel you're nothing. And men are running away from homes. They are going away, they are escaping because of that. So I would say now, to answer your question, there needs to be a balance, and it is achieved at the family level. Hiyo hatuwezi kuwa na blanket, I cannot give, because my family is completely different from another person's family. The way they run their finances is different
from how you run
it's complete. There is no model. Obviously kuna models kadhaa nime create as a counselor, how people may run their finances. But now coming to the modern day life is about shared responsibility. That's what we are advocating for, where I put in what I can and you put in, and no matter what you put in, it doesn't make you less. So if I can provide a quarter of the budget as a man and the woman provides 3/4, he's my husband. We are raising a family. Why should I be worried about that? I don't think it should be something that really worries me, because even when this guy gets to a point where he succeeds, he will not be, it will not be hard for him to push it to 3/4 and he will remain with the quarter. Or even he says, now I think I'm good, do whatever you want to do with the money. But I want to tell you this, Linda, what is happening in our current generation. See, we're in modern times. So a woman presses a guy because she needs to be a provider. Economy is bad. Amejaribu, job anapata ni pesa kidogo. Anajaribu. Do you know what men are doing when they succeed? They revenge. They hit back. You made me feel small. You made me feel a boy. You made me feel useless. Now you know I'm a man. And how do you prove you are a man? You look for another woman. They
don't forget when you hit them at their weak moments.
No man will forget that. Even if they are saved and they are speaking in tongues, they will never forget. Because, Linda, how do you imagine a man feels when he is bashed because he's not providing? And maybe he's trying to provide in other areas. It kills him. So na ile siku atatoboa, ata prove himself a man by adding another woman or even a third one. Ndio ile ulisema you're not man enough, ni kuonyesha yes, I am a man. I can manage 3 women at the same time. So I think there is wisdom that is needed, and that's why I'm talking about redefining. Redefining. Kaa chini na your guy and your family, mulizane, okay, tuko hivi na tunahitajika kuprovide. What are we going to do about this? You hide him. This, even I tell women, if your guy is in a low place na uko poa, tuseme Mungu amekubariki. Okay, sometimes things are tough both ways, but you can even give him money. Mnaenda mahali public. Don't let it make you feel so powerful by going to pay the bill. You can even give him the money, mwambie, okay, carry this. You don't know how much that makes that guy to feel. Na ile siku Mungu atamsort, na wewe atakusort 10 times because umeficha uchi wake. But at the same time, we can't forget to say that yes, men are supposed to rise to the occasion. Hiyo ni Mungu alitupatia na lazima tufanye. But when things are hard, I think women should rise and try to cover. And if things are too hard, adjust life. Because I think we can talk about adjustment.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, if he's trying and putting in effort, why not support him, and be there for him? We'll take a short break and be back for more.
The Golden Arc TV, subscribe. Thank you for watching.
welcome back. Now, Pastor Eliud, before we went for a break, we were talking about, adjusting, adjusting, especially when it comes to a family. Maybe the man is not providing and the woman is providing. Now, how do you deal with a struggling man? Like me as a woman, as a wife, I have my husband here. I'm saying he's trying, but at the same time he's struggling. So how do I deal with a struggling man?
Wow, a very good question, and I think it's a very common occurrence even in the church today. So unapata yes, jamaa ameokoka, anapenda God, hata alewi, yeye anajituma, lakini mambo kimeumania. That is one scenario, and I think let's start from there. Then we go to the worst case scenario of useless men, because they are still there in our society. For a struggling man, there is something I always encourage women, that they chose this man. Nobody was carried like in the olden days when they were being carried at night by friends and dropped in the guy's house, and they start living, and tomorrow morning they go to the mom and say, "Mom, as you do my cup, add one more." And the mama knows things happened yesterday. So I think that knowledge should always be at the back of the minds of women, because I feel sometimes when women get into marriage, they forget that they made the choice. And now
to be with that man.
To be with this specific man, Eliud, my wife chose me because I had to go to her and beg and plead and date and chase, as we say, until akaingia box. But finally the choice, if angesema no, hakuna kitu ningefanya. So let them remember that as they deal with a man that is struggling. And number two, as I said, I think it's good to repeat, they should always remember that if is a man that has integrity, it accuses him that he's not able to provide. That is a second truth they should always remember. And then thirdly, I think this one women sweep under the carpet. The Bible is also speaking to them. When you talk to, you read, the Bible talks to women in Proverbs 31. And when you read that proverb, by the way, you can even imagine that the man is just supposed to stay at home and enjoy the fruits of the labor of the woman.
It is true.
If you read that scripture, by the way, it creates a woman that is a full package. She looks for food. She honors the man in the village gates. She makes sure the children are okay. She makes dresses the man. But women tend to run away from that, and they shift everything to men. Because Linda, as you're saying, the struggle becomes even more real when now both men and women are struggling. Where did we start? By saying when you choose, you must also be well set as a woman. It should not be a messianic relationship. So you can imagine now, I am struggling and my wife is struggling, things will be very hectic. So that means also, I think it's good to say that women must really, really work hard in their own rights as women to create something for the family, so that there will be a bit of a stabilization of the ship when there is a lot of storms in the area of economics. But having said that, now let's come to the practical advice. This is what I would say. Now, from the first case scenario of a man who is integrity and they are struggling, that they need to adjust their lives. That's where it starts. You cannot continue living in a 10,000 house and yet you're struggling. Face the shame. Women are playing a role in this, because men hawakuange na shida sana na shame. Lakini women have a challenge with the shame. But sasa, Linda, which is better? Ni mupigane kila jioni hamjalipa hao, ama ni kuhamia nyumba ndogo? Ni
kuhamia mna afford, mnaweza.
It will not kill anybody. It's a practical thing. Hameni, tokeni hiyo nyumba and then uzeni gari. It's okay. Nobody is going to kill you. They will talk for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and the next big story comes and life goes on. Lifestyle change is one of the most practical ways to deal with a struggling issue. Let me tell you, Linda, today things became very hard. I felt like it's not working. mi kurudi home siwezi ona is a big issue. Then hapo kwa madhe ni mwambie we are here. Mpaka vitu zisimame nitakaa hapa kwako. Because why? Should I stay with her and then we are killing each other?
Yeah, there's no need. True.
So for adjustment, I would say the first and the most practical one for a struggling family with a man of integrity is adjusting economically.
So let's say for example the woman is the one earning, the man is not earning. Mwanaume pia anafaa kuwe open-minded.
Yes.
Let him not be so hard on himself. Akubali.
Yeah.
I am trying, but it's not working, but she's here.
Yeah.
She got my bag. So unafaa ku open mind and don't feel bad about yourself or you look down on yourself.
Yeah.
Again, hiyo yenye umesema, you know, like you are struggling, maybe mulikuwa mnakaa kwa nyumba ya 40k, you know, you cannot continue staying in a house ya 40k, and maybe you had a car, you want to keep on holding on to that car because you're scared of what your friends will say or what they will think of you. So wanafaa wajust. Can you please look at that camera uambie hivyo?
I know we are speaking to both men and women who are facing that because of COVID, job losses, business failures. Even right now in our country, things are not okay. So wacha niongee kwa Kiswahili. Niwaambie, marriage haiwekwi na pesa. Marriage haitunzwi na jina kwa society ama kwa marafiki. Marriage ni ya watu wawili. Mtu anaitwa mwanaume na mwanamke. Vitu zikiumana, badilisheni mawazo. Kama wewe ni mwanaume, adjust na muongee na your wife a provide kile anaweza na wewe utoke. Nayo the lady, please don't embarrass your husband because you have got the means. Cover him. It will be for a time. That investment will pay. But if you push him and nag him and pressure him, when things will turn up for better, he will go to enjoy with another woman who gives him peace. So talk to each other if things are tough. If it needs adjusting, adjust and don't worry about people.
Yeah.
If it means moving back to the village, move. Things will be better in future. But at the end of the day, money is not the answer to all the problems of our marriage.
Yeah.
It is the spirituality, the communication that will be between the two of you. But I also want to say this to men. If you lose your job, your business dies, don't stay in the house. That is a curse and it is going to kill your family. When the woman rises to go out, rise with her and go out and come home as if you've come from a job. Even if there was nothing, knock on offices, adjust your expectations. If you are a manager, you can go back to Mjengo. Nothing will kill you.
Yeah.
But step out every day. Go out there and fight it out. Because finally there is something that will come to your family.
Can I say an amen? Amen to that. Okay, let's talk about useless men. There are those who are so very lazy. They are not doing anything, but they have so much expectations. Like, there's a story a friend of mine alikuwa ananiambia. There's this guy, he was very lazy. Hakuna kazi alikuwa anafanya, lakini alikuwa na expectations mob. So according to him, haizi kula food yenye haina nyama. The guy.
Okay.
He doesn't do anything. Kazi yake ni kukaa tu kwa nyumba, you know, watching Netflix and all that.
Yeah.
The lady steps out, anaenda kazi, anarudi jioni. Hakuna kitu jamaa amefanya. And so when she goes to the kitchen and prepare enye amepata, let's say maybe beans ama ndengo, he complains. He's like, me, I cannot eat beans. Mimi siwezi kula chakula yenye na nyama.
Okay. Now that's the worst case scenario, and there are worst cases, by the way. Drunk men, that's on another level.
Yeah.
Addicted men, immoral men, and they're not providing. Let's go back to where we began. Who chose this man?
She did.
She did. So she should be ready to face the consequences. And I think it takes us back to the courtship time. Because women have one challenge, and I think I'm very harsh on them for this. They ignore red flags during courtship.
True.
They are there, they are like shouting crazy. but they ignore how men behave in their courtship. Are they real? Are they living? So a lady anafurahia kupelekwa out, kubaiwa gifts expensive. It's a good thing by itself.
Yeah.
But it tells you about this man's priorities. Because Linda, let me
Material
ask
things.
you now for real.
Yeah.
Wewe tumekutana hivyo sasa, kama hivyo tumekutana leo. Alafu within 1 week mimi nakupeleka mahali tunatumia 20k in one sitting. Are you supposed to be happy?
I should raise too many questions. I should ask myself so very many questions.
But women don't. They soak in the moment.
Yeah.
And they post it on social media. But they are setting themselves up for a very huge failure.
Yeah.
Because anytime you see a man who is ready to spend so much on a woman, and especially at the point of courtship,
Yeah.
it tells you of two things. That this man is extravagant,
Yeah.
very good with his money, or this man is what you call a narcissistic man,
Yeah.
who is only interested in the moment, but not any other moment.
Yeah.
But is that going to work in a marriage?
No.
When kids are coming, you have to buy land, have to drive. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So it starts at the courtship. So hata huyu anakuja sasa lose job, amekuwa Netflix. It is showed in the courtship.
But because the woman was so happy to have netted a generous man, wacha alipie gharama. But having said that, sasa imeenda hivyo. Huyu ni jamaa hataki kufanya job, hataki kuadjust, anangoja job ya 50k kama ile tu alikuwa nayo, juu alikuwa bank manager, aitwe interview, apewe nini, hiyo haitafanya. There are only two options for women. And me, I'm always honest, I'm a pastor. But I say, you either stick in there and raise him as a child, or you get out. Because Linda, in marriage, there is what my spouse is to me. What is important to me. Do you know it's not like everybody provider is more important? Kuna, like me, for a pastor, to use my own example, the best my wife can give me is to be hospitable to the church ministry.
Yeah.
For me, akifanya hivyo, hata hizo zingine akifail, nitasikia kama naweza adjust weight. Mimi ati my wife ati akose kupika chakula nisikie niko na shida. It don't matter. But if she speaks to a church member in a way that hurts them, that would kill me.
Yeah.
Because for me, that is who she is more important than any other role.
Yeah.
And obviously now being the mother to my kids, now at the family level, but now I started with the church. So the question is, as a woman, are you ready to be a parent? If you are, you're going to raise him as another child.
A man with 32 teeth.
Yes. Because there are other things that the man is doing. There's the issue of intimacy you cannot ignore. There's the issue of identity in the society.
Yeah.
You get the point. There's the issue of your workplace, reputation.
Yeah.
So if you're ready to sacrifice to raise a kid for all the others to work, then be it. That's the choice you have.
Okay.
But when it comes to not providing and then violence, I only have one word: run out. Because it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
There's no way I can provide and then a man beats me or emotionally abuses me, or like what the man is disrespects me for not cooking meat, and yet he was watching Netflix the whole day. If it gets to that, for me, I always say I think the best option is to take a break.
Yeah.
It may not be permanent, but it's not going to work.
Okay.
Lakini kama hizo zingine zote unaona ziko sawa, identity, intimacy, reputation, culture, whatever it is, then raise a kid and be comfortable. Akiitisha nyama, una hustle. Hizo zingine unapata. So it depends on you as a woman and the choices that are before you.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what about those who are both struggling? The man ana struggle,
Yes.
mwanamke ana struggle.
Yeah.
Kuna bills zina pile.
Yes.
Kuna vitu zenye wanafaa wafanye. What do they do?
I think, as we said, even for this case, adjustment is the only option for them, as low as it can get. I've seen couples who are honest to each other I know a couple, in my line of work, I get to know about a lot who had to send their kids to their mother's house. It is not easy for a man to do that, but they sent them. And then the wife had to look for a house help job just to make sure that at least there's a season in life where you say, afadhali tu niwe niko mahali nimejishikilia. It's not now about the money. It's about my sanity. Because if I continue the way I am, it's going to be you lose it. So adjustment, I think naonanga kama ndio escape route ya that situation. Muna adjust economically, muna adjust lifestyle, muna ongelesha watoto, if it means living in different towns, mama kwenda kwa ajiliwa kwa nyumba. That's what you do. What else can you do? Mzee na itabidi apige makanga, auze mtumba, shout kitu hajaifanya. I think if people are ready to do that, things can work. Kwa sababu usipofanya hivyo, sasa na nyote wawili mna struggle, hii marriage itakufa na itaumiza watoto zaidi. So I would say that's the most practical one, adjustment, if it means going all the way back to home. But I think also it's good to mention that for families, and this is something I can even speak to couples, build social capital and spiritual capital. Like today, if things were so hard, it will determine who my friends are. Because if I have also kitu pia watu ufanya, I think as I mentioned on that last point, wakati watu wako poa wanajitenga. Let me tell you, I know of a couple, they were doing so well. Job ilikuwa mzuri, the wife was doing very well, but she could not pick people's phones, family members, friends. Si mimi niko poa. Let me tell you, job ilisha alafu anachona maloans zimepile hivi. Nobody will pick your call because the time you're good, you also did not pick my call. How should I pick yours? So I want to tell couples, build your social and spiritual capital. Be there for your pastor today when you're doing well. Because at some point, when you lose your job, he will come carrying something. He'll come and bring you some maize. He may not bring as much as you took to him, but he'll come and stand with you. But when couples, they refuse to build their spiritual and social capital, they are setting themselves up for a big failure when they come to a place of struggle. But I also think at the marriage point, it's good to be realistic on as you get married. When you don't say, I'm walking by faith. I'm walking by faith. Why? Faith inagonganga mwamba. Reality in a hit. So even from the point of marriage, be real. How much are you making? How are we going to live? How are we going to survive? Not just by faith. It's much more. Okay, now kuadjust si rahisi, it's hard. And there's a lot of pressure. By the way, kuna kuangana a lot of pressure. And sometimes one is desperate. Very true. And sometimes one is forced to do some things. There's a post I saw somewhere on social media. And this woman was saying, I think it's time we forgive ourselves for the things we did on survival mode. You know, sometimes you find yourself in some situations and you're left with no other option other than to survive. So you will find yourself ukifanya vitu zingine zenye haukuwa imagine unaweza fanya to survive. What do you do? You mentioned that, and even now, it was yesterday. I mentioned this probably because I won't mention the name. This young man is facing a lot of emotional and I would say spiritual dilemma because the job he's doing is not very ethical. It's paying, but not very ethical. That's all I can say. And sometimes you're forced to do that because now you're in survival mode. But one of the things that is causing this for me, if I was asked, is people are aiming too high. People want to build, they buy a car, they take the children to good schools in a very short period of time. Linda, that is not going to work. I think families should be realistic. As Pastor Eliud, I don't have to have a house to prove that I am a man. spiritually if I'm sound, my family will still honor me. You see, I don't have to be driving. People keep on telling me, Pastor Eliud, at your level you should be driving. I say it's okay, that's your view. But me, I'm investing in education. Unapata watu wanajisqueeze sana ndio kwa image. Unaona?
Na pia watry kufitini.
Ati marafiki zao wako hii level. Why? Me don't buy things because I found a friend of mine amenunua. That's not my issue. People have to build that capacity. And I really plead with the couples watembe na their capacities. Wasijieke limits. At this point lazima tukue na shamba ama tuwe tumejenga. Life Linda ni dynamic. Linda's life, Eliud's life, completely different. I love reading this article that says somebody graduates at 20, gets job at 25. Mwingine ana graduate at 30, the following month ako job. Mwingine anangoja for so long, sijui 55 ndio anafanya hivi, mwingine anafanya na mwingine anakufa at 30, mwingine anaenda to 100, lakini alipata job nzuri at 70. Life is so dynamic. Let's live our lives. Itatusaidia kutofika hiyo level ya where the both of us are struggling. But when it comes to that, you have to sit down, be honest with each other, evaluate and see what can we do. Communication is very important.
Okay. So they should sit, talk, because what's work for them is not what will work for other people.
No.
It will never be, because hata hiyo tunasema turudi kwa madhe, kuna watu ni orphans, they have no other home.
They have no
so what do? They deal with their situation. But getting to survival mode, as the question you're asking, sorry I didn't capture that. People should be careful about ethical and moral boundaries, because whatever you do inakuwa na consequences. We can decide to join wash, we can decide to do this illegal business to make things work, can decide to do this, but finally it'll catch up. Now probably the effects will be much worse than if you had tried to do it the right way.
But you know, Pastor, at that particular time, aufikiriangi hizo vitu. The only thing you think of at that time ni how you're going to solve the issues that you have, like the current issues that you have.
Very true.
So unapata the pressure is too much. So you are like, mi nikipata, if this is the option, ama kitu ita solve, my current situation right now, unapata most of the times we go for that options. And most of these options, they are not good options.
And I agree with you, because I'm also understanding the issues that we are facing today. But now, Linda, this is what the challenge I always say. Which is easier? Is it to struggle to make it the right way, or to face the consequences of wrong that are sometimes heavier? Because, for example, let's say somebody amekuwa desperate kabisa, ameamua kumove on another man. Then amepata mtoto na that other man. You see now the weight of the consequences is going to be very tough for her and also for the husband. Ama husband ameamua, sasa wacha niingilie crime, I think it's too much. Ameshikwa ama ameshutiwa ama, now the woman is left now even a widow with the kids. Ni gani sasa ilikuwa rahisi? You see, wange fight it out. I believe, Linda, it is not easy, and I'm sitting here knowing that I know, because I've gone through it. Not having a job, not having money. But the thing is, the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So the way utafikiria, Linda, as a man, as a woman, it is possible to do right. It is, because it's a matter of choice. So yoyote ambayo natusikiza uko kwa hiyo hali, it is possible to do right. Just sit back, retreat, go somewhere, hide with your guy, talk your hearts out, na mtengeneza plan. Na ni possible to come out of the situation. Lakini wasiondoe options zote. Ile option tunaondoa ni the illegal option. But hizi zingine zote, it means going back to kulimia watu mashamba. Let it be. Nobody is going to kill you for that. They will talk, but finally you know what you're doing. And finally people stand. Because pia watu wasipokuwa aggressive saizi, maisha inaweza kuwa difficult. Watoto wanakuwa, unajua everyday inaendelea, mtoto mmezaa anakuwa. So mahitaji yanaendelea kiongezeka. So I would feel like, let's not get into survival mode, pushing us all the way to desperation, to a point of doing whatever is can be done to make things right. The consequences will be very, very hard. Yeah.
Okay. As we conclude, what are your final remarks on the same, or your final take?
Okay, now talking about roles and responsibilities of a man, I would close by saying this, that God released his own breath into men. So men are powerful beings. But at the same time, I want to speak to women that men are weak, but they don't show it. So let's walk with a lot of understanding, communication. Let's analyze and know where we need to be. Because when we reflect, women especially are affected so much by this. When we reflect on men, we look at them in one lane only of the provision, but there's much more than that. So look at men as the images of God that really, really value what they bring into the family. When they don't, it kills them from within. So I would close by just saying three things, three words that can kind of summarize what we are talking about. Number one is listening to each other. Completely, not sio ile ya kusikiza ukingoja kenye utasema, ukifikiria, ukipanga kenye utasema. Completely mtu anamaliza kuongea alafu ndio uongee. Listening to each other is very, very, very important. The other word is looking to each other, where we say, I still trust in you no matter how things are bad. Mimi bado nina trust, nina kuamini. Because the moment a woman shows a man that they don't look up to them, they look up to another place, the man disconnects. And he goes. And finally, the third L is leadership. So men, take your leadership. No matter how tough it is. Money does not define Reverend Eliud. Spiritual leadership defines you. And that is my principle. That men should lead even when they have no coin in their pockets.
All right. Thank you so much, Pastor Eliud, for this amazing conversation. Help us by subscribing to our channel, Golden Act TV ARC. Drop a comment, like, share with as many people as you can. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time we upload a video. Thank you.
The Golden Act TV, subscribe. Thank you for watching.